It wasn't the hospital's fault. They were short-staffed, and the maternity unit was busier than usual. Anyway, the baby looked perfectly normal. Apart from a slight silvery sheen to his skin and something a little bit odd about the eyes, he was no different from the other babies born that day. A bell rang further down the corridor, and the nurse, who had been staring at the baby, which was disturbingly staring back, shook herself, went to answer the bell, and forgot all about the very uncomfortable feeling the encounter had given her. Nobody noticed the tall, dark man who walked down the corridor, carrying a small bundle. In a few easy strides, he reached the front door and stepped outside. As he climbed into the black, shiny car waiting at the curb, he was laughing. "Colin, don't plug that in there." Colin plugged it in. There was an almighty crack, a vivid flash, a smell of burning plastic, and all the lights went out. "What the fucking hell do you think you're doing, you moron?" Colin was hunched over the socket, staring at the melted plastic in disbelief. "That shouldn't have happened," he said. "The equipment must be faulty." "Your bloody brain is faulty," Brian yelled, striding down the aisle towards him. Kevin, the band's resident peacemaker, stepped in front of him, shielding the bemused Colin. "Cool it, Brian." Brian brushed him aside. "I'm going to kill him." "Wait." Kevin put out a restraining hand. "At least wait till the gig's over. We need his van to get the gear back." "If there's any gear worth saving," Brian said, between clenched teeth, "I'll just see if I can rescue it. If it's a write-off, I'm definitely going to kill him." He couldn't decide which was the more desirable outcome. The pleasure of killing Colin might well outweigh the pain of losing the equipment. Colin had been with the band for 3 weeks, ostensibly as rhythm guitar, but actually as unpaid roadie and driver. They kept him off the stage as much as possible and regularly failed to plug in his guitar. Recently, he had been getting on their nerves so much that even his willingness to buy rounds was not enough. Band morale was at an all-time low. He was going to have to go. They had sacked him. The best player in the band. It was jealousy, that's what it was. It was him they cheered for at the end of the gig. The fans loved him. He was the best player and the best looking, and the others couldn't take it. So they used the breakdown of their cheap equipment as an excuse. As if he would plug in the wrong plug. He knew what he was doing. He knew better than any of them. Just because Brian was an electrician, he thought he knew more than he did. What a tosser. Well, he'd show them. He'd go solo. "How did your jig go last night, darling?" "Gig, mother." Sylvia looked confused. She thought a gig was some kind of horse-drawn carriage. Dennis looked up from his paper and watched his son guzzling a full English breakfast. The boy was already massively overweight, but his mother insisted on feeding him as if he were a prize pig being groomed for a show. He had difficulty believing Colin played in a band. He'd heard him play the guitar, and couldn't imagine any band with a shred of self-esteem allowing him in. "I was magnificent," Colin said. "The fans went wild. I'm seriously considering going solo."